Good afternoon. It is Friday, March 14th, 2025, and I've got some fantastic stories for you guys today. A lot of fun. Also, we have a major fold for the Democratic Party. I'm just going to kind of skip and just dive right into it because I'm a little short on time today. So we're going to start out with Chuck Schumer getting rolled because, of course, good old Chuck the Schmuck. Democrats of all stripes are furious with Minority Leader Chuck Schumer for caving to the Republican Party, for caving to President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. On Wednesday, Schumer announced that Democrats would filibuster the continuing resolution to fund the government. But on Thursday, he's like, oh, did I say we're going to filibuster? No, we're not going to filibuster. No, we have to pass it. Which gave Donald Trump and the Republicans a massive win. The CR would allow Trump and Musk to continue to shut down agencies that they don't agree with, cut spending, and even creates a slush fund for Trump to do whatever he wants with. That's why it's a slush fund. Now, it also cuts vital services programs by about $13 billion, increases defense spending by $6 billion, cuts staffing at the SSA, the funding to the VA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, among many other terrible things. This bill is an absolute, utter disaster. And even centrist Democrats are pissed. Representative Sean Casten of Illinois, for example, said, quote, Mitch McConnell abused the filibuster to make America worse. Schumer is refusing to use the filibuster to accomplish what exactly? Yeah, and that is the problem, okay? Yes, we did watch Mitch McConnell abuse the filibuster. And then when, I don't know, Mitch McConnell, or I'm sorry, when Chuck Schumer has the opportunity to stand up to Donald Trump, he doesn't. Oh no, but we have to cede more power to Donald Trump and Elon Musk just so that we can keep, the stock market, I mean the government running. Right. Yep, that's what it is. Now, Senator Chris Van Hollen told reporters on Wednesday that the House bill provides, in my view, a quote, continuing blank check to shut down government agencies as they're doing right now. And that's very important. It's very important. Now, Stephanie Feldman, a longtime aide to former President Joe Biden, said that the shutdown is already happening. It is called Trump and Musk's demolition of our government. The question is whether Congress will cede its remaining checks on the powers of the president. Ron Filipowski said, when you're so afraid of Trump calling you shut down Schumer that you willingly accept surrender Schumer as your legacy. Surrender Schumer. Kevin Cruz, yes, another, critic of Donald Trump, obviously, and enjoyer of centrist Democrats, says, if Chuck Schumer enjoys a single day in New York City for the rest of his life without being told to go F himself at least once, then NYC will have utterly failed as a society. Inside the Democratic caucus, it gets even worse, okay, for him. A senior Democrat said people are furious and that some rank-and-file members have even floated the idea of marching onto the Senate floor in protest. There were many battleground Dems in the House that were semi-uncomfortable with the vote, one House Democrat said. The Senate left the House at the altar. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, in remarks to his House colleagues, and Hakeem Jeffries, I'm a big critic of, right? Even he's like, no, this is unacceptable. He lauded the House for standing up to President Trump by voting against a bill, according to multiple sources. When he praised the House Democrats' votes, he received a standing ovation. When he mentioned Senate Democrats, boos everywhere. One House Democrat told Axios in a text message, quote, people are pissed. No kidding. Several members, including moderates, have begun voicing support for a primary challenge to Chuck Schumer, floating Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Dan Goldman as possible candidates. 3 House Democrats said, when you have these centrist, moderate Democrats that are saying, let's primary Chuck Schumer and replace him with AOC? You know they're not happy. One lawmaker even vowed at the House Democratic retreat to write a check tonight supporting AOC, said the senior House Democrat. Wow, but it gets even better, though. You're going to love this. Okay, that is Bernie Sanders saying if you do nothing, you sit back and you say it's going to be terrible, and that's right. A shutdown will be terrible, but our job is to put the onus on the Republican president, the Republican House, the Republican Senate, the people who control the government. You know who's responding to that? Neera frickin' Tanden, agreeing with Bernie Sanders. I did not have Neera Tanden turning into a Bernie bro on my 2025 bingo card. But there it is. Okay, and by the way, there is more. There is more. You're going to love this. Jennifer Rubin, Schumer is a disgrace. Oof. Charlotte Clymer, I'll be supporting a primary challenge against Chuck Schumer. Time for him to go. Wow. Now, speaking of AOC, she called this on social media a huge slap in the face. I think that there's a wide sense of betrayal. And she went on CNN to explain further why.
This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs that he's switching on and off. And on top of that, for folks who are concerned about effectiveness in government, this Republican extreme spending bill removes all of the guardrails and all of the accountability measures to ensure that money is being spent in the way that Congress has directed for it to be spent. This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It sacrifices congressional authority, and it is deeply partisan. And so to me, it is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
She is absolutely correct on all of that. And look, this is such a huge win for Republicans. They are openly celebrating. Schumer caved. Trump won. Incredible, said House Judiciary GOP. That means they can send whatever piece of crap bill they have and as a continuing resolution to fund the government, to avoid a government shutdown, and Democrats will back it, no matter how bad it is. They'll back it. Look, Donald Trump went to Truth Social to congratulate Schumer on this cave, right? Congratulations to Chuck Schumer for doing the right thing. Took guts, courage, the big tax cuts, LA fire fix, debt ceiling bill, and so much more is coming. So they're already planning on stuffing as much horrible crap into those bills as they can, because they know that Chuck Schumer's not going to fight. We should all work together in that very dangerous situation. A non-pass would be a country destroyer. Approval will lead us to new heights. Again, really good and smart move by Senator Schumer. Oh my God. This could lead to something big for the USA. A whole new direction and beginning. Dear God. Now, Representative Ro Khanna also blasted this, saying Democrats' unwillingness to stand up for Congress and constitutional right to prevent Trump from unilaterally shutting down Social Security offices or firing veterans is craven. If we're afraid of blame, we need to get better at persuasion, not rolling over. So, look, I've had criticism of Ro Khanna, missing crucial votes. But at the same time, he is correct on that. Rolling over is exactly what Chuck Schumer has done. Now, of course, he's going to go on and try to defend himself on MSNBC. And Chris Hayes, he wasn't having it.
There's essentially an unconstitutional assault on the government right now, and I think you would agree with that.
There
right?
is.
An assault on the constitutional.
These guys are the worst, and we got to fight them every step of the way. As we say in Brooklyn, Chris, every effing step of the way.
But look, Russ Vought is already telling people, but he's telling people on the floor, we are not even going to listen to this CR. This is a piece of paper that we will impound and rip up the moment it's passed. If that's the case, how is voting for cloture not essentially an imprimatur on the very same assault on the constitutional order?
They're already, even without this CR, they're already doing it.
Right.
Okay? They did it to the Department of Education. But I can tell you, I've been through shutdowns before. It's not that this CR is good. It's not that voting for it is good. It's horrible. But the alternative is worse.
And here's what I would just offer. It seems to me that the demand that makes the most sense here, and I'm not a U.S. Senator, is for the Republicans to vote on a rescission package that enunciates the cuts DOJ has done, as opposed to allowing an unelected co-president unilaterally eviscerate the American constitutional power of the purse. The only thing that gets their attention, the only thing that gets them to back down, is meeting conflict with conflict. If you meet conflict with essentially managed retreat or strategic non-engagement, then they roll all over you.
We are going to conflict with them on everything.
Except when it actually matters. Okay? We're going to conflict with them on everything except when we, roll over. Yeah. Because we're not actually going to do anything. And do you know why they're not actually going to do anything? Because the government shutdown, yes, it would be pretty disastrous, right? For whom? The stock market. Other things, of course, are going to be affected, right? But these are already areas that Republicans are targeting for cuts, massive cuts anyway, okay? But the big thing that would be harmed is the stock market. Well, gee, congressional, I should say Congress members, they can invest in the stock market. So a lot of them do have massive investments in the stock market. So if that continues to go down even further, because it will be a compound effect, right? Because it's already going down. But if it goes down even further as a result of a government shutdown, then they stand to lose a lot of money. And not only them, but the people who fund them, the donors, tend to lose a lot of money when the stock market goes down. And so they don't want to risk those investments getting worse. So that's one of the big problems, right? That is why Schumer is actually not going to do anything, okay? Look, they have the filibuster power. They could block this, and they're not going to. They're legitimizing Donald Trump and Elon Musk's cuts and takeover of the government. But again, wouldn't a government shutdown be worse? Yeah, look, we're already in one, okay? We're already in a partial government shutdown. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are shutting parts of government that they don't like. This is just giving them an official license to do it. Okay. Now, another argument Schumer and his defenders will make is, okay, but what about blaming Democrats? Aren't people going to blame Democrats? Well, there's limited polling on this, right? Quinnipiac, for example, on a survey released Thursday, found that 32% of registered voters would blame congressional Democrats. That's about a third. However, 31% would blame congressional Republicans, and 22% would blame Trump. Oh. So actually, the polls are better. Oh, interesting. So there you go. And I bet those numbers might move in their direction if Democrats can get out there and actually explain why they're shutting it down. Why did they have to shut down this bill? What parts about it were so bad? Because understand it, a lot of people don't really know what's in these bills. They don't really understand. However, the problem is, they have decided we're not going to have that fight. We're not going to have any fight. No fight at all. And that's because Schumer and the Democratic leadership is paid to lose. They are the status quo, and the status quo means not putting up real resistance. They're not putting up any real fight, even against a hostile government takeover, because they don't know how to deal with this. By a billionaire and his fascist allies. They don't know how to deal with the fascism. Now, if you're wondering why Republicans continue to keep winning in this environment, it is because they do fight while Democrats consistently surrender. Okay. To move on. Farmers in America's heartland are reeling as a result of President Donald Trump's stupid trade wars with our allies and trade partners. Canada, Mexico, the EU, and China have responded to our tariffs with their own retaliatory trade measures, which include no longer buying US-made agricultural products. Along with the tariffs, there have been massive cuts to government programs and loans, grants that have hurt the farmers. Now, in an interview with NBC News, West Virginia farmer Jennifer Gilkerson revealed that cuts to a key U.S. Department of Agriculture program have left her with a very large stash of unsold freeze-dried fruits that she had spent thousands of dollars producing under the assumption that they would be bought by local schools. Quote, "We're just in such a state of shock," she said. "We just don't really even know how to respond to all this. We thought that this was sacred and really untouchable. So it's just quite a shock and very devastating. Everyone thinks all farmers voted for this, but we did not vote for this." Well, somebody voted for it. Somebody voted for it, and it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Can't blame me. Now, Iowa farmer Bob Hemisath, meanwhile, told NBC that he's not going to be able to withstand a long-term trade war with our allies. Quote, "I know that this is the way President Trump believes he's going to create better markets long-term." The guy doesn't know about creating anything. Okay, I hope he's correct, but my fear is that once you lose those markets to other suppliers, it's very hard to get them back. Look, this is why this is dumb. Okay, it's not like these other countries cannot find these same goods in other places. It's not like the United States has is able to provide something that no other country can. No. Look, I'm all for using tariffs when they do make sense, okay, to protect American jobs and industries from unfair business practices by other countries. And there's certainly examples of that you could point to on that. But these do not make sense, okay? And one of Donald Trump's demands, okay, and one of the reasons that we're on, Canada, that we're actually having tariffs against Canada, is he wants to annex Canada and make them the 51st state. That is really stupid. Stupid. It's incredibly dumb. There is no other word for that. It is stupid. It is dumb. It's also incredibly harmful. I mean, you're out there threatening another country's sovereignty, Canadian sovereignty. Okay? What? No, do not piss off the Canadians, okay? They may be really nice people, but don't get on their bad side. All right? You don't want to get on their bad side. I remember the last time the United States got on their bad side. The White House was literally on fire. Don't do it. Just don't. Just maybe sit there, maybe think about things, okay?
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that.
Don't piss off
I
Canadians.
tell you, don't do it.
Now there's more. Chuck Connor, head of the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, told NBC that the nations being targeted by Trump with tariffs have responded by targeting our quote-unquote soft underbelly, which he said were our food exports. That has always been the case. And that is always the case, and that is the case this time around on steroids. And it's not just food and agricultural products, it's spirits, Kentucky bourbon, soybeans, corn. In fact, farmers say they're already seeing the effects after Trump put an additional 20% tariff on Chinese imports, after which China responded with an additional 10% to 15% tariff on U.S. agricultural products, including pork, wheat, and corn. And after Trump briefly placed a 25% tariff on all imports from Canada last month, cattle farmers in Maine got notices that their grain prices would go up by 15%, said Sarah Alexander, executive director of the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. Trump later walked back some of those tariffs, but also warned that more are to come. And it's been haphazard, okay? A farmer also told Alexander that his price quote for a greenhouse shot up this week after Trump put a 25% tariff on oil, steel, and aluminum imports. Consumers are going to see these impacts if farms are not able to carry through with their plans or their costs increase dramatically, whether it's in what products are actually available this year or that the cost is going to have to go up because farmers can't shoulder all of those changes themselves, Alexander said. Now, Trump has come out and he said, don't worry about any of this, okay? It's just an adjustment period. Farmers, just bear with me. It's going to be okay, all right? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in a CNBC interview this week that there would have to be a quote-unquote detox period for the economy as the cuts are made. Remember, some of these cuts are for programs that benefit these farmers. Like, for example, the USDA. Okay, where the federal funding cuts and freezes, along with staffing shortages, have been rippling all across the U.S. agricultural industry. Farmers say that they rely on grants and loans from the agricultural department to help make their products more affordable to U.S. consumers and weather the natural volatility in the market for agriculture commodities. And now that that is gone, they are pissed. And they should be. In West Virginia, a group of farmers had been working to launch a brand of West Virginia grown products called Appalachian Cellar. They were just about ready to start distributing when the agriculture department told them that their funding was cut off the day before Trump got into office, January 19th. I've got 31 farmers who are pissed off, said Spencer Moss, executive director of the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition, who was working on launching the line of products. We are rounding the corner into the planting season, and we are supposed to be ramping up, but we are not. We are unable to ramp up. Not only will the group not be getting funding going forward for the expenses it had coming up, but it is unclear whether it will be reimbursed at all, as planned, for $100,000 in expenses related to the grant that it had already paid for, Moss said. This is the economy of rural America. West Virginia is a wholly rural state, and so developing this agricultural economy in the state is extremely important. These farmers pay property taxes, they're business owners, a lot of times they're commissioners or the school board members. These are the drivers that keep rural communities alive. So it feels like a divestment in rural communities across the board. Bingo! Now, that's the thing, though. So many people in rural America depend on government for grants, loans, hell, even setting up trade deals for their products. And yet, those same people, ironically, hate the government and vote against it. I know, it's crazy, right? Now, these people actually got what they voted for. A government, an administration that is so incredibly hostile to the entire idea of government that they are dismantling it right before our eyes. Just right in front of us. Hey, you know what? It's called the free market now. You want a free market? You got it. That invisible hand is coming up to slap you in the face for voting up against your own best interests. Okay? Ironically, the only thing that could save you is more, you're going to love this, farm socialism. Yeah. Government bailout. Just like what happened during the first Trump administration, where the government literally bailed out the farmers. You would think they would have learned from that, but no, they didn't. They once again voted for a man to come in and wreck the government even more. So I don't see why y'all are so shocked that you got exactly what you voted for. Farmers for Trump. How's that working out for you? True. Apparently not that well. Speaking of regrets, a group of Michigan Trump voters apparently are a bit anxious about Trump's policies now that he has been in office. Axios reported that a focus group convened by Engages Sago and found that 10 out of 13 participants from the battleground state do not like what they're seeing and fear that Trump's policies would start to impact their personal finance. Ah, lovely. Now, this focus group, okay, some of the key words used to describe what's going on were erratic, frightening, disruptive, and dictator. Now, look, this is just one focus group. This is not statistically relevant, okay? It's 13 people, okay? Donald Trump still enjoys massive support among Republicans, among Republican voters. That said, this does illustrate that Trump is at least beginning to alarm some of those voters, and he risks overplaying his hand and possibly losing their support. In fact, one person, this is Cheryl M. of Chesterfield, said he's so erratic, and it's getting to the point where I'm almost scared to watch the news. I mean, it's a little bit frightening because each day is something new, so you get a little anxious. This is what happened back in 2016 through 2020. It was every single day, it was something new, something disastrous. Were you not paying attention then? I don't know. Apparently not. Now, these voters are, by the way, a little bit different than other Trump voters, than hardcore Republicans. They're Biden to Trump voters. So a lot of them voted for President Joe Biden in 2020. Okay. And so, in fact, all of them voted for Biden in 2020 and then switched over to Donald Trump in 2024. 8 of them were self-described independents, 4 are Republicans, and 1's a Democrat. Okay. So now their responses, of course, were dramatically different from those reported by a similar focus group convened last month in Arizona. All of whom expressed approval for his early actions. Now, getting back to this one, Shannon B. of Livonia said, I don't feel like he was this aggressive last time because I don't think anyone would have voted for him if they expected to see what we're seeing now. Here's the difference from last time. Last time he was held in check by staffers who would constantly ignore his most crazy ideas. They would distract him with something shiny. Okay. And by the way, he was also learning. Okay. He was learning what he can and cannot do. And he was also constrained by not being immune. Okay. From prosecution. Supreme Court went in and changed that. He hired a whole bunch of loyalists and yes men, appointed them. They're wholly devoted to him and his policies. You've got the cultists that are in control of the White House now. The cult is fully in control. You didn't have that last time. That's why it's different. That's why it's worse. Now, the participants expressed disapproval for his antagonization of Canada and his quote-unquote childlike removal of the Associated Press from the White House and Air Force One because they refused to say the Gulf of America. I mean, Canada, said Phil L., 45 years old, when have we ever had issues with Canada? We barely have a border. You can go in and out of the country in a lot of places, a lot of the states. I think we're just barking up the wrong tree with this. Well, I mean, apparently Trump having some issues with Canada. Just hates him for some reason. Several participants even expressed concern about its handling of the economy. And one voter conceded that Trump had campaigned on tariffs, but said the scope was still surprising to them. We didn't necessarily think it would be this much, this fast, said Michael L. Of Commerce Township. He campaigned on lowering prices and making things more affordable for working class people. He's moving in the opposite direction. You actually believed him when he said, "Oh, I'm gonna make things cheaper. I'm gonna make things more affordable, guys. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine." No, he doesn't know what he's doing. For one, he also works for himself in order to make himself richer. Okay, but as far as running the economy, he's been bankrupt 6 times. You think he knows how to run an economy? No, the only thing he knows is debt and bankruptcy. This guy borrowed from the banks. He just wouldn't pay him back. He'd have his businesses declare bankruptcy and then just walk away from the ashes. Okay? Except, now he's got the world's biggest economy. It's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to walk away from the ashes of this one. Okay? And it's not like you can't go and look up those bankruptcies. We've known Donald Trump for a very long time. He's been around on the scene for a long time. All this stuff should be common knowledge. They were widely reported on. Widely reported. So it's not like you can say, use ignorance as an excuse. Okay? You knew. And that said, the most damning part about all this is the fact that these people, even with all of this going on, still wouldn't change their votes. Only 1 in 10 Trump voters turned skeptics said that they would back Kamala Harris if they had a chance to do it over. Wow. I mean, and if 3 of the voters who did support his early actions said that they liked that he appeared to be getting things done. He said that he would get busy as soon as he got into office, and I feel like he has, said Carabee, 39, of DeWitt. He's getting busy, all right. Oh, yes. He's getting busy wrecking things. And that's the problem, right? These voters want to direct things. They voted for a man to come in and break shit. And that's what he's doing. That's what we have. I'm just hoping that at some point it dawns on them, probably after they break if he breaks something that they rely on, that, oh, maybe it was a mistake after all. All right.
Sexual anarchy.
Just had to make sure the button worked. A Texas Republican has finally stood up to take on one of the most pressing issues in his state. Is it child poverty? No. The broken power grid? Also no. Well, what is it? Litter boxes in classrooms. Wait, what? Seriously? That's right. Representative Stan Gertz has introduced the Furries Act, which would punish students who act like non-human animals in schools and penalize schools that allow this behavior. No more, they say to the furries. Heel, sit, stay. Don't you dare think about using that litter box in class. No, seriously. This is not a real problem. It's not a real problem. Yet you have anti-LGBTQ Republicans claiming that schools have been forced to accommodate students who identify as house pets. Educators, however, have come out and numerously debunked these claims because, again, they're not real. It's not actually happening. However, thanks to anti-trans accounts like Libs of TikTok, there's a lot of parents, a lot of people that believe that there's a rash of furries using litter boxes to go to the bathroom in class. Now, personally, I remember being a child, and I remember being too embarrassed to use the bathroom in front of people. Okay? And so I couldn't imagine anybody using a litter box. I don't know where they get this stuff. It's insane. But the backlash to this imagined problem is very real and has led to external hostility against students and school staff. Gertz Furries Act, which stands for Forbidding Unlawful Representation of Role-Playing in Education in Schools, expressly forbids defecating in a litter box, licking oneself for grooming, making animal noises. Oh, come on, dude. Really? They're kids. They're going to make animal noises. Come on. Wearing collars, leashes, or animal accessories. By the way, I mean, there goes the goth population, too, with the collars. Yikes. or any surgical or superficial means of displaying tails, fur, ears, or other physical animal features. It would also forbid teachers from promoting the idea that any of these behaviors are socially acceptable. But what about Halloween? People wear cat ears on Halloween, right? Yeah. No, to be fair, they did think of that. Oh, we have an exception. The legislation makes exceptions for allowing animal behavior on Halloween, special theme days, or through school mascots. Wow, how magnanimous of them. Look, this is bizarre, and it's solving a problem that isn't a real problem. Because it's not. Anybody witnessing the acceptance of non-human animal behavior by students would be allowed to file a complaint with the state attorney general, Ken Paxton. Okay? The attorney general could then leverage a $10,000 fine against schools for a first violation or a $25,000 fine for subsequent violations. In a press release about the legislation, Gerd's office claimed that a furry-related incident occurred within the Smithville Independent School District, a small district outside of Austin that serves only 1,885 students, representing 0.03% of the state's 5.1 million public school students. He did not elaborate on that incident, nor have any known news reports covered the alleged incident. He said, "We cannot allow these types of role-playing distractions to affect our students who are trying to learn, or our teachers and administrators who are trying to teach. We just have to keep this nonsense out of our schools. Period." Okay. Role-playing distractions, right? This just makes me think that, I don't know, this might be on this educator's mind a bit too much. Okay? I'm not saying that he's a furry. I'm just saying that maybe he's fur curious. And doesn't want anybody to know about it. But look, again, this is not happening. This is not in the schools. This was a lie spread by right-wing weirdos. For example, Nebraska State Senator Bruce Bustelman claimed during a televised debate that student furries were allowed to interact with teachers by meowing and barking. He also said that one student who was denied a litter box later defecated on the classroom floor. Bustelman then later admitted that he made it up. Because of course he did. Of course he did. Hi, Ride Chick of Libs of TikToks also claimed that a second grade school teacher encouraged students to become furries. That's not true. The Austin School District disavowed the claim as misinformation. Pastor Aaron Thompson and televangelist Andrew Womack both said that schools are allowing students to identify as animals and demand litter boxes be in the classrooms. Not true. Michigan Republican Party co-chair Michon Maddock also repeated this lie, as did Heidi Ganahl, the Republican candidate for governor of Colorado. She claimed that student furries are identifying as cats in over 30 different schools in the state. Many of those schools released statements contradicting her claim. She ended up losing her race. Yes, of course. Representative Lauren Boebert also claimed that a father in Michigan told her that his son got in trouble when he stepped on the tail of a student who identified as a furry. None of these stories, of course, were true in the slightest. In fact, Reuters published a fact check in July saying that there was absolutely no evidence of furries disrupting classrooms or schools, nor have the schools developed any policy of including them as a formal identity. What this is anti-trans. They're using the furries to attack trans people. Now, here's the thing. Furries generally are allies of trans people. Okay? Now, remember, the current director of national intelligence, though, Tulsi Gabbard, claimed that the schools were recognizing furries as a gender identity, which, again, that's just not true. Okay? Those stories, though, are meant to bias people against transition, trans individuals, and against trans-inclusive school policies. But there's another reason that they're spreading these lies as well. Texas Republicans under Governor Greg Abbott have increasingly pushed for public taxpayer funding to be redirected towards private for-profit schools, charter schools. In order to do that, they have admitted that they need to discredit the public school system and to turn people against it. These so-called school choice advocates have admitted that they seek to discredit public schools and generate high-profile lawsuits against him in order to generate support for taxpayer-funded private schools, where they are, of course, not going to be accountable to taxpayers, where they are allowed to teach fundamentalist religion as part of their curriculum, discriminate against gay and trans people, sidestep public sector unions, teachers' unions, while starving public education of much needed funding. And of course, the ultimate goal is to make people dumber so that they will continue to vote for Republicans. All right. One more quick story, and then I've got to get out. Sorry for the rush today. Following the arrest of former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, several opponents of his crackdown against drug users and dealers have spoke out. Father Flaviano Villanueva said that when Duterte was arrested by the ICC for human rights abuses, it took a minute for it to sink in, because it's big news. But when it did, the Manila-based priest told AFP that he immediately thought, God never sleeps. Villanueva has spent years assisting families of those killed in the drug crackdown, which included tens of thousands of victims. He said that he told the widows that he works with that justice comes in different shapes. Legal justice is an expression of healing, especially in this situation, where Duterte's arrest is a manifestation of him paying for his sins. That said, Villanueva did not put all the blame on Duterte. In fact, he said he was merely the architect. There's also the carpenter, the mason, and the blacksmith. Everyone with blood on their hands must be accountable. Even those who quietly applauded this drug war, he said, need a personal accounting. We can call it a national atonement. Now, we go from member of the clergy to a former senator, Leila de Lima, who was in prison for 6 years on drug charges that she claims were trumped up in order to silence her anti-drug war campaign. On Tuesday, she said, I asked myself, is this really it? I still couldn't completely believe the warrant wasn't there or was there already. While de Lima said that she was thrilled that she had been, while she was thrilled that he had been unable to wriggle his way out, her happiness was a bit muted. The wheels of justice are turning, but I also feel bitter and sad because it took an international tribunal to be able to really do concrete things. Local authorities, however, now had a chance to make their mark, she said, by targeting their lower level accomplices, especially the gunmen. And so this is a theme that we're seeing, right? Where it's like, yes, they got the guy at the top, but what about everyone else who might have a chance to go to ground? Because he didn't do this alone. And look, a lot of Duterte's drug war involved police, as well as examples of vigilante justice. In fact, she said that they should keep the ball rolling by filing the appropriate charges and prosecuting those people as well. ICC prosecutors have said that as many as 30,000 people have been killed by police or these unidentified individuals over the years, which again, vigilante justice, right? Dozens of cases showed violent deaths where the death certificates listed natural causes, and in one case, the death certificate listed pneumonia as the cause of death, although the skull of the exhumed body had a bullet hole in it. So there's a lot to do. And by the way, one of the people that they spoke to was a forensic pathologist, Raquel Fortune, who said that she was driving from, I believe, Quezon City when it was first reported that there was an arrest warrant for Duterte. She told the AFP, quote, that was the first time I cried. Fortune was one of those people who identified the bodies and found out a lot of the ways that, of course, many of these victims were killed. She said that her work has not stopped. There are more families to help. There are more bodies to be exhumed, more referrals to accept. These people are banking on me. So how can I stop? We are here for truth and accountability. Yes. Now, That leads, of course, to former Senator Antonio Trillanes, who said that his office was ecstatic over Duterte's arrest following their 8-year journey of gathering evidence and coordinating with the International Tribunal. His arrest is a strong message to the future leaders. You abuse your power, oppress your people, and worse, kill them, you will be made accountable for your actions. So that said, you've got these people that are speaking out, but remember that Duterte actually ended up having a really high popularity rating, up to about 77% from the people. So they saw crime, and they're like, well, do something about it. We want you to do something about it. And he did, by doing crime himself, using the state to do violence and murder against the undesirables. Okay? Now, I happen to believe that murder is generally wrong. And I know that the Philippines happens to be a majority Christian country, when 86% of the population identifies as a Roman Catholic. So, what does it say in the Bible? Thou shalt not kill, right? Well, the thing is, Duterte ordered that people be killed. So, I mean, if you're a religious person, you should have a problem with this. Now, Trillanes, who once told the AFP that Duterte had the mindset of a hitman, said the public should not feel pity for a, quote, old and sickly man in custody. Instead, Trillanes said, remember Duterte when he was ruling like a king and ending people's lives on a whim. This is just the first step in the long journey in the pursuit of justice. But it's a big step just the same, and we're going to keep our feet on the ground until the end. Look, I hope the families of the victims are able to find justice. And I also hope that those suffering from drug addiction and the effects of it, which destroy lives as well, I'm hoping that they're able to get the help that they need to be able to get off those things and to live a happy and fulfilling life, which is not the case when Duterte was in power. And so hopefully things will begin to change for those people for the better, and for the better of the Philippines. Okay. They're going to go after those others that are involved. Why can't we have that here? I know, right? It's very, very strange. But apparently we are in post-law, post-constitutional, post-truth America, sadly. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Again, sorry for the super quick, fast, early stream. But I have, like I said, some things to do. But it is good to see those of you who were able to make it in the chat here. Thank you for that. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. Also, consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, or become a channel member. With that said, thank you all. Love you, and have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.